Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. To my loyal bed crimers, thank you for being here. To anyone new, a most special welcome. Before we get started, let me humbly ask that if after listening to this video you find you enjoyed it, please do me a favor and hit the like button. Now let's get started. Now that we have a name and a face for the person the police believe to be Bridgecott, we're all curious to know what he was like beyond his recent interactions with locals in Delphi, Indiana. Classmates from North Miami Senior High School in Denver, Indiana, that Allen graduated from in 1991 are starting to share information about what he was like back in the day. According to 3 classmates who spoke to other podcasters, whose name I will share in the description, Rick, or Ricky Allen, was one of the shortest guys in his class, which makes you wonder if Allen had some sort of short man syndrome that led him to crave power over others. We know that Superintendent Doug Carter of the Indiana State Police, when he first spoke out after the crime, spoke directly to the perpetrator, saying, "To you, this is about power." By the way, before anyone attacks me for mentioning Allen's height, let me say that small man syndrome is a real thing. According to researchers from the Vrije University in the Netherlands, short man syndrome is definitely a thing. It refers to a condition where a man feels inadequate because of his short height and may try to overcompensate it with overly aggressive behavior. This syndrome is also known as the Napoleon complex, in reference to the famous military leader. So there you go. Bam. During his high school years, Richard Allen wore his hair in a close-cropped buzz cut for his freshman, sophomore, and senior photos. In his junior year photo, Allen is sporting a mullet, which was pretty much the look at that time. Think Beavis and Butthead, Billy Ray Cyrus, Andre Agassi. You get the idea. By senior year, Allen was back to his buzz cut. I'm curious now to find out if Allen's father was in the military, and if he is the person who imposed those short haircuts on his son. I know some people buzzed parts of their hair in the early 90s, leaving another section long, but Allen's hair was completely shorn all around his head. Richard Allen grew up in Mexico, Indiana, as well as Peru, Indiana. Mexico, Indiana is a very small town, and Peru was considered the bigger town, the place where high schoolers from Mexico, Indiana went for fun. By the way, if you find the cities in Indiana confusing because they are the same as other cities and countries, you're not alone. Allen is described as coming from a small family, just one sister and his 2 parents. One classmate said that Allen's family was very normal. Another said the family were good people. And in fact, Allen's grandfather, Homer D. Allen, was an elementary school teacher and a principal. Richard was sometimes teased about being related to the principal. Now, I believe Allen's sister is 5 years younger than he is, and she too lives in Indiana, but not in Delphi. Allen was described by pretty much all the classmates as being a very quiet guy, maybe a tad shy, someone who would walk down the school hallways with his head down and his shoulders hunched. In fact, many classmates simply don't even remember Richard Allen, but it was 30 years ago, so this is somewhat understandable. I know I don't necessarily remember everyone who was in my high school class, and they probably don't remember me either. One classmate who did recall Allen said he could suddenly come out of nowhere with a zinger of a joke. So he was quiet with occasional bursts of humor. One guy who was a few grades above Allen said that he had played baseball and army games with Allen when they were little kids. This same guy traded baseball cards with Richard Allen. This person was very surprised to hear that his childhood friend was accused of such a crime. He couldn't reconcile the friend he knew with this heinous crime. One female who used to carpool with Richard Allen to school said that he came from a normal, small-town American-style family. She described him as very quiet and said he was not someone who raised red flags. One classmate recalls going into a CVS sometime between 2016 and 2017 and hearing a voice that jolted her back to her high school days. She then recognized Richard Allen because of his voice. So that tells me his voice in person is very distinctive and memorable. When asked if she thought Allen sounded like Bridge Guy, she said she didn't want to speculate, but that it was, and I quote, very close and gave her chills, end quote. Scary. We know that Richard Allen and his wife Kathy are the same age, 50, and they got married when they were both 19. Kathy grew up in Peru, Indiana, and went to Peru High School. It's likely that Richard Allen met Kathy during some excursion from Mexico to Peru, Indiana. When they were first married, Kathy worked at a Wendy's fast food restaurant, and Richard worked for an RV seller as a salesperson and delivery guy. It is amazing that Richard and Kathy married so young and are still together. At least it is to me. It seems like a lot of young marriages don't survive over the decades, but this one did. So that's all we know for the moment about the young Richard Allen. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories. Hey, do me a favor, hit that like button.